I, female, 32, was uninvited from my sister-in-law's wedding for being pregnant, and my husband, male, 34, is taking her side. Throwaway because my husband knows my main account. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. This is going to be a mess because I'm still really upset and can't believe this is happening. So I'm 5 months pregnant with our first baby after trying for 3 years, including 2 miscarriages. My husband Trevor and I have been married for 7 years. We met in college through friends. I always thought we had a pretty solid marriage, but there's always been this one thing that's been an issue. His sister Vanessa, female, 30. Trevor and Vanessa lost their mom to cancer when they were teenagers, and it created this intense bond between them. But it's created this dynamic where Vanessa is basically untouchable, and Trevor always takes her side, no matter what. And Vanessa has never liked me. She's always making comments about my weight, which has been up and down because of the fertility treatments, or one-upping anything good that happens to me. Like when I got promoted last year, she somehow turned the entire family dinner into an announcement about her getting some award at work that sounded made up. And at her birthday party a few months ago, she spilled an entire glass of red wine on my white dress. But Trevor just laughed it off and said I should have known better than to wear white around drinks. I've tried hard to have a good relationship with her for Trevor's sake. I'm an only child, so Trevor always says I don't understand sibling dynamics, and that this is just how sisters are whenever I get upset about something Vanessa does. But I have friends with sisters, and they don't treat each other like this. About a month ago, Vanessa announced she was engaged to Matt, male 35, this rich guy she's only been dating for 6 months. And they're planning this huge destination wedding at some resort in the Bahamas in just 2 months. The timing is interesting. Right when everyone's been focused on my pregnancy, suddenly Vanessa needs all the attention with a rushed wedding. It feels suspicious. I was actually relieved about the destination part because my doctor told me I shouldn't fly in my 3rd trimester, which I'll be in by the wedding. So I figured I had a medical excuse to skip it. But then last week, Vanessa called me. She told me that she decided not to have any pregnant women at the wedding because we would ruin the aesthetic of her wedding photos and take attention away from her as the bride. She specifically uninvited me for being pregnant, not because of the travel concerns, but because I would make her pictures look bad and steal her spotlight by existing with a baby bump. So that night, I told Trevor about the call. He barely looked up from his phone and said, since I wasn't going anyway because of the flying thing, it didn't matter. When I pressed him about how wrong it was, he just said, it's her wedding, while still looking at his phone. I asked him if he thought it was okay for his sister to ban me because I'm carrying his child, and he finally looked up and said it was probably for the best since I couldn't fly anyway, and that Vanessa just wants perfect wedding photos. I started crying and said I couldn't believe he wasn't standing up for me. And then he said I should be grateful I have an excuse not to go, that Vanessa is right, and that I just make everyone uncomfortable and ruin her special day with my complaints. I just couldn't believe he said that. I went to our bedroom and spent the whole night thinking about all the times Trevor has chosen Vanessa over me and dismissed my feelings. I realized this isn't going to change when the baby comes. If anything, it'll get worse. Vanessa will probably have all kinds of opinions about how I'm raising her niece-nephew, and Trevor will take her side over mine, again and again. So while Trevor was sleeping, I packed a bag. I wrote him a note saying I needed space to think about our marriage and whether it can survive with 3 people in it, him, me, and Vanessa. And I went to stay with my best friend Molly. That was 3 days ago. Trevor has been calling and texting nonstop, saying I'm being dramatic and hormonal and need to come home and think of the baby. But I am thinking of the baby. I'm thinking about whether I want to raise a child with a man who will always put his sister's feelings above mine and our child's. Am I overreacting? Is this pregnancy making me crazy, like Trevor says? Or is this actually the final straw in a pattern that's been going on for our entire relationship? I honestly don't know anymore. For the first time in our marriage, I'm seriously wondering if we can make it. Edit. Thank you all for the responses. I'm trying to read through them all, but there are so many. To answer some common questions. No, Vanessa hasn't banned all pregnant women. There are a couple other pregnant women who were invited, but they're only like 3 to 4 months along, so they won't be showing as much, according to Vanessa. So yes, it really does seem specifically targeted at me. Trevor's dad is pretty passive and tends to just go along with whatever Vanessa wants too. He's a nice guy, but since his wife died, he's basically let Vanessa run the show. Edit 2. So many people are asking if Trevor has always been this dismissive of my feelings. Looking back, yeah, kind of. But it's usually subtle. Like he'll listen to me complain about something Vanessa did and say, I'll talk to her, but then nothing ever changes. Or he'll say, I'm too sensitive when I get upset about something she says. I've never actually left before, though. This is the first time I've felt truly hurt enough to walk away. And someone asked about Vanessa's past relationships. She's gone through a ton of boyfriends who all eventually get sick of how demanding she is. Matt is different because he's rich and basically just gives her whatever she wants. I think that's why she's rushing to marry him before he figures out what she's really like. Edit 3. I see a lot of comments saying I need to give Trevor an ultimatum. I'm honestly not sure I'm ready for that yet. Part of me is still hoping he'll realize on his own how hurtful this is. But another part of me knows that's probably naive. Molly says I can stay with her as long as I need to, and just being away from Trevor and his constant defense of Vanessa has been kind of a relief, honestly. Which probably says a lot about our marriage right there. I have an OB appointment tomorrow, and I'm not sure if I should even tell him about it. In the past, he's come to every appointment, but right now, I don't know if I want him there. Now, for the first update. Wow, I did not expect the amount of responses I got on my last post. It's been 3 weeks since I posted, and I'm still staying at Molly's place. So I've actually started talking to a divorce attorney. Not filing anything yet, just getting information about what my options are, which is something I never thought I'd be doing at 5 months pregnant. But here we are. The attorney was actually really nice and didn't make me feel stupid for not seeing all these issues sooner, unlike Trevor, who's always telling me I'm overreacting to everything. After reading through all your comments, I started thinking back over our entire relationship and realized this thing with Vanessa isn't new at all. It's been happening our entire relationship, and I've just been making excuses for it. Like, there was the time Trevor and I had to postpone our honeymoon because Vanessa broke up with her boyfriend of 3 months and was devastated and needed Trevor to come stay with her for a week. I was disappointed, but went along with it because, family emergency or whatever. Or the time Trevor missed my college graduation dinner that my parents had planned for months and flew in for, because Vanessa suddenly needed help moving apartments that exact day. Couldn't be rescheduled, apparently. Had to be that day. Or all the times we've had to leave parties or dinners early because Vanessa called with some crisis that usually turned out to be something minor, like her date canceled, or she got in a fight with a friend. God, typing this all out makes me feel so stupid for not seeing the pattern sooner. Anyway, when I left that night, Trevor didn't even notice at first. He texted me the next morning like, "Where are you? Did you go grocery shopping?" Like, he didn't even read my note or realize I'd packed a bag. When I didn't answer, he started getting irritated, sending texts like, "Hello, are you ignoring me?" And, "You're being dramatic, just come home so we can talk about this." It wasn't until like 8 hours later that he finally seemed to realize I was actually serious about leaving. Then the panic text started. "Please come home, and I'm sorry you're upset." Notice the "you're upset" part, not "I'm sorry I hurt you," or anything acknowledging what he did wrong. He even showed up at my workplace 2 days later with this huge bouquet of flowers, which was just mortifying because I work in an open office and everyone was staring. My boss had to ask him to leave because I was on a call with a client. Like, who does that? I know some people think public gestures are romantic, but trust me, it wasn't. It was just uncomfortable and felt like he was trying to force me to forgive him publicly, so I'd look like the bad guy if I didn't. The baby's been kicking a lot more lately, especially at night when I'm trying to sleep. Thanks, kid, lol. My boss has actually been weirdly cool about everything. When I told her I might need some flexibility once the baby comes, especially if I'm doing this alone, she immediately offered me a hybrid schedule where I can work from home 3 days a week, which is a huge relief because I was honestly worried about that part. I've also reconnected with this guy Steve, who was in my study group in college. He went through a divorce last year and has been giving me advice about the legal stuff and just being a good friend. It's nice to talk to someone who's been through it and is doing okay now. So, the wedding weekend was last weekend. Trevor went alone, obviously. What's interesting is that after the wedding, I got texts from several of Trevor's family members, including his cousin Sharon and even his dad Ted, asking why I wasn't there. Apparently, Trevor just told everyone I couldn't make it without explanation. When they heard about Vanessa's "no pregnant women" rule from someone else, not sure who told them, they were actually shocked and reached out to say they thought it was ridiculous. That really surprised me because I always thought Trevor's whole family would automatically take Vanessa's side in any conflict. I'm realizing now that maybe that's just how Trevor portrayed them to me. Like he always made it seem like this is just how my family is, but maybe it was just him and Vanessa. Trevor showed up at Molly's apartment last Thursday, unannounced, just appeared with takeout from my favorite Thai place, the curry place I've been craving constantly, which I know was a calculated move. Molly answered the door and was like, no, but I said it was fine, we could talk. When Trevor came over, he didn't actually apologize. He just told me I'd made my point and should come home now. When I asked if he understood why I left, he claimed he'd already apologized. He hadn't. When I asked specifically about him supporting Vanessa's ban on pregnant women, he dismissed it, saying it was in the past now. When I kept asking if he thought what Vanessa did was wrong, he got frustrated and asked why I couldn't just let things go. I calmly said I needed him to acknowledge how much he hurt me. That's when he finally admitted Vanessa was being a bridezilla, but said she's his sister and I should support family. I reminded him that I'm his family too, and so is our baby. Things got worse after that. He accused me of turning his family against Vanessa by playing the victim. Even though I hadn't reached out to anyone in his family, they contacted me. Oh, and get this. Vanessa and Matt got back from their honeymoon, and she had the nerve to call me and yell at me for ruining the wedding by not being there. Apparently, my absence caused people to ask questions and created tension on her special day. The irony of uninviting someone and then being mad they didn't come is, wow. Vanessa called me last Tuesday and immediately accused me of trying to ruin her wedding. When I pointed out that I wasn't even there, she complained that family members kept asking where I was and why I wasn't there. She said Trevor was sad the whole time instead of celebrating with her. I reminded her these were the consequences of her decision to ban pregnant women. She accused me of manipulating everyone against her. When I asked if she regretted her rule now that it caused problems, she actually defended it, saying her wedding photos are perfect without any giant bellies in them. She showed no remorse and demanded I tell everyone I chose not to attend. I refused and hung up. I honestly don't know what to do anymore. I've started looking for my own apartment, not easy on a single income with a baby on the way, opened a separate bank account, and am trying to prepare for the possibility that I might be doing this whole motherhood thing alone, which terrifies me, not gonna lie. Trevor's been sending daily texts about how much he misses me and suggesting couples therapy. Part of me thinks maybe he's finally realizing how serious this is. But another part of me wonders if he's just trying to get things back to normal without actually addressing the real issues. I have an important ultrasound next week, the anatomy scan where they check that everything's developing properly. I'm torn about whether to invite Trevor. On one hand, it's his baby too, and this is a big appointment. On the other hand, being around him is still really painful, and I'm worried about getting emotional during what should be a special moment. I still love Trevor. That's the stupid thing in all this. I love him, but I'm not sure I can ever trust him to put me and our baby first. And what kind of marriage is that? Am I setting myself up for a lifetime of being second best to his sister if I go back? Can people truly change when confronted with the consequences of their actions? I honestly don't know. Edit. Thank you all for the overwhelming support. I'm trying to read through all the comments, but there are so many. To answer some common questions. Yes, I've been saving the texts from both Trevor and Vanessa. The attorney said documentation is important. A few people asked if I'd consider couples therapy. Maybe, but only if Trevor first acknowledges the pattern and shows real remorse, not just sorry you're upset. And to the person who asked if I think Vanessa is narcissistic, I'm not qualified to diagnose anyone, but there's definitely a pattern of making everything about her and never taking responsibility for hurting others. Edit 2. For those asking about Trevor's dad, Ted, he's actually been surprisingly supportive. He called me yesterday and said he was disappointed in how both Trevor and Vanessa handled things. He asked if there's anything I need and offered to help financially if I'm struggling. It was unexpected, but really touching. Oh, and someone asked if Trevor knows I'm talking to a lawyer. No, I haven't told him yet. The attorney suggested keeping that private for now while I figure out what I want to do. A lot of you are asking if I've been in contact with my own family through all this. My parents live across the country, and my dad has some health issues that make travel difficult. My mom offered to come stay with me, but I told her to wait until closer to my due date when I might need more help. They're supportive, but I don't want to worry them too much right now. Someone asked if I'm sure the baby is the real reason Vanessa banned me from the wedding. Honestly, I've wondered that too. There's always been tension between us, but this felt like she finally found a legitimate reason to exclude me. Now for the second update. So, a lot has happened since my last post, and I'm typing this one-handed at 3 a.m. while my 2-week-old daughter Olivia sleeps on my chest. Yeah, she's here, and she's perfect and tiny and has Trevor's eyes and my nose, and I'm completely in love with her, even though I haven't slept more than 2 consecutive hours in 14 days. First, thanks to everyone who commented on my last posts. I read every single comment, even though I couldn't respond to them all. You guys literally got me through some of the darkest days of my life, and I'm not being dramatic when I say that. So, after my last post, I did end up inviting Trevor to the anatomy scan. I felt like it was the right thing to do. It's his baby too, you know. And looking back now, I think that appointment was a turning point for him. When we saw Olivia on the screen, we didn't know she was a girl yet, and heard her heartbeat. Trevor actually cried. The tech was super awkward about it and kept asking if he was okay, lol. After the appointment, we went to get coffee. Well, he got coffee, I got my sad little decaf, and he broke down. He told me he'd been doing a lot of thinking about everything and realized how badly he'd failed me. He actually admitted that he'd started seeing a therapist the week before without me even suggesting it because he knew something was wrong with how he'd been treating me. I didn't just forgive him on the spot or anything. I was still hurt, and honestly still am in some ways, but it was the first time he really seemed to get it, you know. Not just, sorry you're upset, but actually understanding why his actions were hurtful. After that, things got complicated. At around 30 weeks, I started having some scary complications, high blood pressure, swelling, the works, and my doctor put me on bed rest. Suddenly, all my independent plans fell apart because I literally couldn't do anything by myself. My mom finally flew out to help. She hates flying, like has a full-on phobia, but did it anyway, which shows how worried she was. Trevor also stepped up big time, bringing over groceries and helping set up the nursery in my new apartment. Oh yeah, I found my own place. It's tiny, but it's mine. During all this bed rest time, I got super active in this online forum for women with difficult in-laws. I started sharing my story about being banned from a wedding for being pregnant, and it kind of blew up, like hundreds of comments from women going through similar stuff. It was so validating to know I wasn't crazy or hormonal or whatever Trevor and Vanessa had been saying. So I started this blog called In-Law Insights. Cheesy name, I know, lol. Just as like therapy for myself. Just writing out my experiences and thoughts. And then something crazy happened. It went viral. Like thousands of views viral. Women from all over were messaging me about their own monster in-law stories and asking for advice. Responding to these women gave me something to focus on besides my failing marriage and complicated pregnancy. It gave me purpose during a really dark time, you know. Okay, so here's where things get wild. When I was about 7 months pregnant, Vanessa showed up at my apartment unannounced. I literally almost didn't answer the door, but then decided, screw it, let's get this over with. She started by saying Trevor told her she needed to apologize to me, which is not how apologies work, but whatever. I let her in, but stayed standing. Petty, maybe, but I didn't want her getting comfortable in my space. She gave me the most non-apology ever, saying she was sorry I felt excluded from her wedding. I was actually super calm, proud of myself to be honest, and just said, that's not actually taking responsibility for what she did. She immediately got defensive and said her wedding look was important to her, and she stands by her decision, but Trevor says she needs to make things right with me. I asked her point blank if her wedding photos were more important than family, and she said, I was always playing the victim, and that's exactly why she didn't want me there. because everything always becomes about me, and me making things about me. So I showed her my blog on my phone and scrolled through the hundreds of supportive comments from women who thought what she did was awful. She got really angry, started yelling about how I was defaming her and she would sue me and all that. I calmly told her that truth is an absolute defense to defamation. Thank you, random law class I took in college, and showed her the door. When I told Trevor about this later, his response was disappointing. He said he was sad that the conversation didn't go better and suggested I should be the bigger person for the sake of family harmony. I think that was when I truly knew things weren't going to work out between us. So remember that viral blog I mentioned? Well, about a month before my due date, I got an email from a company that makes pregnancy products asking if I'd be interested in a sponsorship deal. Then, another company reached out, and another. And then a literary agent contacted me about possibly turning my blog into a book about navigating difficult family dynamics. What started as emotional therapy had somehow turned into a legit business opportunity. I was making actual money from my blog, enough that I wasn't panicking about maternity leave anymore. Fast forward to 3 weeks before my due date. I went into labor early. I called Trevor, as we'd agreed, but I'd already decided that only Molly would be in the delivery room with me. Trevor was hurt, but didn't fight me on it. He waited in the hospital the whole 22 hours. Yeah, 22 hours of labor, fun times, but respected my wishes about the delivery room. Olivia Jane was born healthy but tiny, 5 pounds 4 ounces, and perfect in every way. About a week after we came home from the hospital, Trevor came over with gifts for both me and Olivia. Really thoughtful stuff. Not just generic flowers, but things that showed he'd been paying attention. My favorite snacks, nursing-friendly clothes in my actual size, a book I'd mentioned wanting to read months ago. I invited him to hold Olivia, and it was emotional, for both of us. Then he told me he'd been doing a lot of thinking and knew he had failed me. He mentioned his therapy progress, and then asked me to come home, promising things would be different. Instead of answering, I showed him the business plan I'd created for expanding my blog into a full platform for women dealing with difficult family dynamics. He looked confused and asked when I would have time for a hobby with a newborn. I explained this wasn't a hobby. It was my career now. I had sponsors, partnership offers, and a potential book deal. He suggested I could do all that from our home, and I realized he still didn't get it. He still assumed I'd eventually come back once I got over everything. So I finally told him clearly, I'm not coming back to you. He asked about Olivia and our family, and I showed him the co-parenting plan I'd worked on with my attorney. He was shocked that I'd thought it all through so thoroughly. That was 2 weeks ago. Trevor initially resisted the idea of divorce, but when faced with how determined I was and seeing that I had built a life without him, he agreed to start mediation. He's been an amazing dad so far, never misses a scheduled time with Olivia, and is learning all the baby care stuff really quickly. Vanessa has kept her distance, only asking for photos through Trevor, which is fine by me. My blog has grown enough that I just hired an assistant last week, and I'm planning content around navigating co-parenting after relationship breakdown. So that's where I am now, sitting in my own apartment at 3 a.m. with my perfect daughter sleeping on my chest, running my own growing business, and figuring out co-parenting with a man I once thought I'd grow old with. If you had told me that being banned from a wedding for being pregnant would lead to me finding my voice, my purpose, and my independence, I would never have believed you. The path has been painful, but I'm actually grateful for the clarity it brought about my marriage and myself. So thank you, Reddit, for helping me through all this. And if anyone out there is being treated as secondary in their relationship, whether by a partner, in-laws, or anyone else, know that you deserve better. Sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the most unexpected blessings. Edit. Oh my freaking God, she just woke up for another feeding as I was posting this. The timing of newborns is unreal. Also, wow, this post blew up while I was dealing with diaper explosions, the glamorous life of a new mom. Since so many people are asking, yes, the blog is doing well enough financially that I'm not worried about money right now. Between the sponsorships, affiliate links, and the advance for the book, still can't believe that's happening. I'm actually making more than I did at my old job. I'm not rich or anything, but we're secure. To answer another common question, Trevor's dad Ted has been amazing through all this. He visits once a week to see Olivia and always brings me coffee and never overstays his welcome. He told me last week that he's proud of me for standing up for myself and that his late wife, Trevor's mom, would have liked me. Made me cry for like an hour, thanks postpartum hormones.